Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the major military operation launched by the United States and Israel against Iran. This is a huge escalation, so we're going to walk through what we know, why the officials say it happened, and what could come next. So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the attack itself, then get into the official reasons from the US and Israel. After that, we'll look at how Iran hit back, and then dive into what strategic experts are saying about the whole thing and what the future might hold. Okay, let's get into it. All right, first things first, what exactly happened on February 28th? On that Saturday, a massive wave of airstrikes hit multiple targets inside Iran. And this wasn't just some small, limited operation, no. Reports from the Associated Press confirmed this was a major coordinated assault, and it was aimed right at Iran's military and its leadership. The very first target was designed to send a massive message. Airstrikes completely destroyed the Tehran compound of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now, Iranian state media later confirmed that the 86-year-old leader was killed in that attack. It was a decapitation strike, right at the very start of the conflict. Obviously, killing a head of state is a huge deal, so you have to ask, what was the official reason given by the US and Israel for taking such a dramatic step? Well, in a video posted to social media, President Trump spoke directly to the people of Iran. He basically framed this entire operation as their opportunity to rise up and overthrow their own government. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, well, he said something very similar. He described the operation as a necessary move to get rid of what he called an existential threat, and again, to let the Iranian people decide their own future. So the Council on Foreign Relations broke it down for us. President Trump actually laid out 5 really ambitious goals. You've got the military stuff, like taking out Iran's missile program and its navy. Then there's the political side, like cutting off support for their proxy groups. But that last one, it makes it crystal clear. The ultimate goal here was regime change. Now, as you can imagine, Iran's response was swift and it was powerful. The conflicts immediately spread beyond Iran's borders, pulling in other countries and really dialing up the tension across the entire Middle East. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched what they called a first wave of attacks. And just look at the targets here. It wasn't just Israel. They also went after US military bases and personnel in at least 5 other countries in the region: Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Qatar, and the UAE. And one of those targets, this is a really big deal, was the headquarters of the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain. I mean, that's a direct strike at the nerve center of American military power in the Persian Gulf. It showed Iran was absolutely willing to go toe-to-toe. And the ripple effects were felt everywhere, immediately. Airspace over Iraq and the UAE was shut down. Down in Yemen, the Houthis, who are backed by Iran, promised to start attacking ships in the Red Sea again, which is, a huge deal for global trade. And of course, Saudi Arabia quickly condemned Iran and offered its support to its allies in the Gulf. Okay, so that's what happened, but what are the experts saying about all of this? Is that stated goal of regime change actually realistic? Let's dig into the strategic analysis. To really understand why this is so complicated, you have to know about the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. As one CFR analyst put it, you can't just kill the supreme leader and expect the regime to fall, because the IRGC is the regime. It's like a state within a state, with its own army, its own intelligence, and massive control over the economy. And this really highlights the huge gap between the political statements and the military reality on the ground. The goal they stated is regime change, but pretty much every military analyst will tell you there is very little chance of that happening with airstrikes alone, not against a power structure as dug in as the IRGC. So the general consensus among experts like Ray Takei is that the Iranian regime isn't just one person. It's a whole ideological system, and it has deep support structures. So yeah, the strikes were a major blow, but the feeling is that the regime is resilient enough to survive this. So all this analysis brings us to the most important question, right? What happens now? Let's take a look at the very serious risks and what the future of this conflict might look like. Based on how things have kicked off, experts are pointing to a few really critical risks that could define what happens next. It really boils down to 3 main dangers. First, an uncontrollable escalation, just a back and forth cycle of attacks that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Second, what they call mission creep. That's where the airstrikes don't work, so the mission expands, maybe into a ground invasion, which would be incredibly costly. And third, the risk that this just turns into a long, drawn-out war that doesn't achieve anything and just devastates the region. And so, this all leaves us with the one massive question that everyone is debating right now. Are we seeing the start of a new era in the Middle East? Or are we just entering a much more dangerous, much more unstable one? The answer to that is going to shape this part of the world for a very, very long time.
This situation is changing by the hour. To follow this developing story, make sure you subscribe to our Global Conflict Brief YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.